Hey, how's it going guys? ZDEyE here. So today we got a somewhat of a lengthy discussion regarding Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, including the Iki Island DLC, or perhaps even I should say an expansion, because it's been revealed regarding its length. There's actually lots of talk regarding this as well. I'm gonna get into it in a few seconds, but first of all I want to mention that this is actually coming from the Push Square interview that they had an opportunity to talk everything regarding Ghost of Tsushima Iki's Island as well, with the creative director Nate Fox, and also in the environment lead Joanna Wang, I believe that's how you pronounce it. So they've given us a few questions, and also they've given us a few answers as well, so this is pretty great. Now let's get into them. First of all, just do listen in, enjoy the gameplay in the background as well. I'll have something in the background anyway. Alright, so let's get into it. It's coming as a question first, then I'll get into the answers. Straight into it, how big is the Iki Island expansion? And Nate Fox, he answers, if you're familiar with Ghost of Tsushima, Iki Island is the same size of it. Really, the very first act of the main game. It's a big dense story with a lot of the landscapes and secrets to discover. Now, if we have to consider this one thing, right? Like the size of this is it's quite lengthy, right? Act 1 of Ghost of Tsushima is not exactly short, and it can definitely take a few hours, maybe even more, up to 10 hours depending, for you to complete it. And again, we are talking about in terms of the platinum, so I would even argue to say it would be 15 to 20 hours of experience, full on, just for the Iki Island alone. Okay, but that doesn't mean necessarily it's a bad thing. I'm sure somebody will say, well, this is not enough. Again, we have to consider one thing. You're paying for the expansion that costs $20. On top of that, if you want to get a PS5 version of the game, then obviously you'll get the additional benefits. On top will be an additional $10. Alright, for me personally, I will be getting this game all over again because I actually sold it a couple months ago, maybe actually more than that. So obviously I don't have the game anymore, so I decided to repurchase it all over again for the PS5 version, a full edition and stuff like that. So it's very exciting personally to me, and plus, I'm supporting the developers, so I'm good with paying more money for this. So, can we expect Iki Island to have the same kind of open world map density as Izuhara from the main game? And the answer coming from Nate Fox, so it's very similar to Ghost of Tsushima, where we strove to get this just right feeling off, the exploration and the discovery, of moments of quiet and moments of violent tension from swordplay. So when we got that dialed in for the Ghost of Tsushima, we used that same overall feeling of peaks and valleys of Iki Island. So this already kind of clarifies it's going to be more of the same. Not necessarily a bad thing. Again, why should you fix it if it ain't broke? So does Iki Island utilize the same gameplay mechanics as the main game? Following the wind and all that kind of stuff. Is it building on Ghost of Tsushima? And Nate answers, Iki Island is absolutely building on top of the Ghost of Tsushima, but does add in a raft of new things as well. New skills for the player to discover, new armor, of course new stories, and that's what drives a lot of the feeling of growth and newness when you play through the Iki Island experience. So, how difficult is the expansion? You can travel to Iki Island from as early as Act 2 in the main game, right? And Nate answers, right, that is the terrific question. So the Iki Island expansion is available once the player gets into the Act 2. Basically, when you're done with the game more or less, not a whole game obviously, from the Act 1 to going to the Act 2, you're actually going through a certain path that you need to get to the new area that you've never explored. And as such, however, we really want to also embrace our players to have a faithful played throughout all of the Ghost of Tsushima and wanted to have this experience. So the Iki Island expansion will kind of jump up in difficulty for those players who have really explored the breadth and width of the Ghost of Tsushima Island. So I guess that will be me, well, one of the people. Does that mean we can expect more complex enemy encounters? And Nate answers, it's more difficult combat experience that will require you to use all your weapons and skills, really at their highest level. So this was actually, it's nothing new in here. If you play the game, let's say even on normal difficulty, you already will end up actually using and utilizing most of your skills to make sure that you actually demolish and finish off many enemies that group up on you. Okay, so there are new mythic tales on Iki Island that you can tell us about, or is it all that of a secret? And he answers, well, Nate answers, yes, there are, and it is indeed a secret, but that's part of the fun of the discovery. So are there any new weapons types of additional gameplay mechanics in the expansion, or is it again just kind of building on what was already in the main game? Nate answers, we're absolutely building on what's already there. There are no new weapons or stances in this upgrade, but there are a good number of new armors, in particular skills that you can find that have really changed the way that you play the game. We want to lean on this idea that player expression, particularly throughout the combat, is one of the things that makes the game very much your own. So whether you're a ranged player, a sneaky player, or just a straight up let's fight sword to sword player, we want to give you more to dig into. So can we expect new enemy types as well? Nate answers yes, absolutely. And following question, moving into the expansion story, you already hinted that Jin and his clan have a history with Iki Island. Can you give us an idea how long the story is? And Nate answers, yeah, it's very similar in size to Izuhara, basically the Act 1 of the game. So it's an open world game, so it depends how you play it. If you want to beeline through any one of the particular narrative aspects of Iki Island, it takes different amounts of time. But the best example is just because it's an open world game, it is think of it like an act in the Ghost of Tsushima. And if that's the case, then like I said, it should be around maybe 10 hours to be more realistically. But knowing ourselves, right, I think we should take maybe 7 hours, that's give or take. That's again, developers always like to over-exaggerate with their times. When they say it's a story of experience of 30 hours, usually it's never like that. It's usually would be 18 to 20 hours realistically. So, let's continue. What can you tell us about Iki Island itself? And this is coming from Joanna this time. She answers, so Iki Island is a smaller, poorer, more wild island than Tsushima. Another way to describe it is more mysterious. But for the overall Mongols invasion over there, Iki Island has a long history of pirates as well as history with samurai. When you first arrive, you'll see the steep cliffs and mysterious caves. There's a lot of unique scenery for you to discover. And following that, does that mean Iki Island kind of has its own art style? Is there anything that you've done graphically to differentiate it from the main game? And answers, well, Joanna answers, so with the Tsushima we really focused on the bold colors. You know, you see those golden temples, red flower fields, and so the beauty and the nature of the landscape is really what we've tried to push for. And with Iki, we're continually trying to do the same thing because that's what we're really passionate about. This is the identity of Ghost of Tsushima, but we're trying to use a different color palette for Iki. You may have seen in the trailer, there's a wisteria forest and you can see the purple flowers hanging over the vine and swaying in the wind. So that's one example of how we're thinking about pushing for visuals differences between the Iki and Tsushima. Okay, so we have to ask. In the trailer for Iki Island, we see Jin on a boat with his horse before the lightning storm hits. Rex is the boat, and we see the horse floundering in the water. What do you guys have against horses? And yeah, it's basically a funny question. And of course they mentioned they love horses. I mean, there's no question that in Ghost of Tsushima your best friend is your horse. They're right there with you. And so, you know, I'm happy to report that the horse play a role in Iki Island as well, because we love horses. So New Game Plus, is the Iki Island expansion also turned in for the, New Game Plus? And Nate answers, yeah, it's a part of New Game Plus landscape. Next question, since Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is coming to PS5, can you tell us about the improvements on Sony's current gen consoles? And Nate's answers, yeah, there's absolutely some features that we could put onto the game because of the PS5 hardware. So the haptic Bing is the big one. This is a game where we can suddenly let you feel like what it's like to hold a katana in your hands when it gets deflected by a shield. You feel it through the controller because of the haptic and adaptive triggers, even in the Japanese lip syncing. We're capable of putting that in because of the PS5's SSD let us take some of our cutscenes that on an original version of the game we had to pre-render, and now we can do them live. And so the hardware makes a difference. So how does the new Japanese lip syncing actually work? And Nate answers, it's really time rendering. On the PS4 version we would have to pre-render films that we'd use to play while we're loading in new chunks of in the background. Oh, that's actually quite interesting. And these films are very, very large. In fact, they're so large that we just barely got them on disc. But with the PS5 we could do them like live rendering. We now can accommodate the extra lip sync. How about the load times? Ghost of Tsushima already has incredibly fast load times on PS4, especially for an open world game, and on PS5 the Director's Cut load times are supposedly to be even faster. It's just how quick are they? And Nate answers, as fast as we can get them. I mean, it's not like this for every transition, but generally speaking, if you want to go somewhere, the screen dips to black and comes out and you're there. And that's because we want to create the feeling of being inside a classic samurai film. And so because of the SSD, we can get closer to that experience, that vision of what it would have been to be inside of one of those films. Next question. Moving away from the expansion, what it's been like to see Ghost of Tsushima receive so much praise over the last year? And his answers, Joanna answers, I will say after the release of Ghost of Tsushima, I feel like I'm living in my dream. We're always very passionate about making games, and the whole team is so talented in finding their style, finding every little bit of how we're going to make this game. And now we've seen fans around the world that are enjoying and playing our game, and sometimes I feel like I have to knock myself on the head and ask if this is real. It's fantastic. We're so appreciative of all the support. We are very happy to see how it all turned out, and we're so happy to see everyone enjoy our game. I definitely feel like this is our game because we made it, but it's also everybody's game because every single one of you guys play through the game and enjoy the journey with Jin, and that can be so personal. It's just so amazing that this could have that this happened in 2020. Yeah, it feels like Ghost of Tsushima was kind of a big deal for a lot of people, being such an immersive game during the time when everyone was staying home because of the, well, pandemic. And Joanna answers, even myself, I just recently played through Ghost of Tsushima again. We can't go travel, we've been in a lockdown, but when I played through it, I personally felt like I just had a virtual tour, going somewhere in another country, another world. A world that's beautiful and nice. I can interact with animals and connect with nature. So much of this, even from just my point of view, is awesome. And Ghost of Tsushima was met with a huge response in Japan. You were even made tourism ambassadors of the actual Tsushima Island. How do you guys feel about that? And Nate answers, we could not be more humble by the response from our fans in Japan. We made this game because we're massive fans of Japanese samurai cinema, Akira Kurosawa. We wanted to contribute to that genre through the lens of a video game, and to have it be well received means that we, didn't mess it up, and that it stands inside of the space of a samurai story genre. And for that to happen, it really, we understand completely that occurred because of our work of our colleagues in Japan. Thankfully, we are members of Sony, so they helped us out. We talked to a lot of experts about the time period, and thanks to all of that coordination, I think that is the reason why it feels authentic to people that have much bigger background than we do. As well as, a lot of research that the art team did to make that landscape come alive. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that feels better than knowing fans in Japan like the game, because we wanted to honor that genre. So these were all the questions, and that has been answered by Nate Fox and also the Joanna Wang. It's been very interesting to hear about this enthusiasm that they had, as well a few other questions that they gave us an opportunity of finding out a little bit more about the Iki Island DLC. And man, I cannot wait. It's going to be very exciting. Well, alright, thank you so much for watching, guys. Like and subscribe. See you guys all later, and have a wonderful day.